The CIA has reportedly formed a task force to deal with those thousands of WikiLeaks documents, even though the agency has come through those revelations so far pretty much unscathed. The diplomatic cables and military files are being analyzed by the CIA's new WikiLeaks task force, assessing the immediate impact of those leaks, including how they might affect the agency's ability to recruit informants. But it could also be seen as vindication for the CIA's post-9/11 reluctance to share intelligence. They had feared there were simply too many people who could get their hands on top-secret information. Ari Melber and Steve Moore are back with us. And is that the real problem, Ari? Post-9/11, the big task force said intelligence sharing needed to improve, but the CIA really insisted on secrecy, and they think now that's paid off.
Yeah, they say it's paid off. The task force is actually looking at fortifying these kind of things. That is, closing the circle of people who have access to their information and keeping the information sharing, which of course is touted for connecting the dots, limited to a need-to-know basis, particularly as you go up that secrecy hierarchy. I think this is a good and strong reaction to the problems posed by these type of leaks. I mean, there's basically, quickly I'll say, there's three types of reactions. One is proactively looking at how you deal with information. Second is reactively dealing with people in government who break the rules and who need to be investigated and sometimes prosecuted. And third, what I consider the problem area is, as we've also seen, trying to crack down or potentially criminalize journalism or publication, as we've seen in WikiLeaks. That's gotten a lot of attention, that third area. I think that's the wrong area to focus on. The proactive and reactive work in government secrecy is a lot more fruitful.
Well, look, Steve, you know that the big study that was done post-9/11 cited as one of the major problems the lack of information and intelligence sharing between agencies. So, I mean, they've got this task force. The usually serious folks at the CIA call this WTF, or the WikiLeaks task force. But, you know, they look at this low-level Army intelligence agent, Bradley Manning, accused of leaking all this. Does this vindicate their approach? Does it make it more difficult for information sharing to happen?
Well, first of all, let me say the one area I disagree with Ari is this idea that somehow we should celebrate the media for publishing information that should remain top secret. I mean, we're not talking about the leaking of Hollywood gossip, or even what we talked about last week on this show, you know, bank secrets. We're talking about intelligence that needs to be kept secret and confidential for our ability to fight terrorism. And I think sometimes we forget about that. One of the reasons it's so hard for these agencies to share information right now, in my opinion, Chris, is precisely because they're worried about this information getting out through WikiLeaks and putting our informants and putting our spies
So does it increase
risk.
the danger? If it does that, then, Steve, does it increase the danger of a terrorist attack?
Yes, there's no question about that. I mean, there's no question that when this kind of confidential, secret information from the CIA or the National Security Agency is leaked, that certainly puts us at more danger of terrorism. That's why I'm so disgusted by this whole approach, and disgusted by many people who are celebrating WikiLeaks.
Well, I think Steve and I disagree here. We probably disagree in good faith, because he is perceiving or proposing a type of media that is adjoined or supportive of the government that it covers, in which case the U.S. government. That's one view, and I think it's an acceptable view. I don't question your motives on that. You obviously think that would be a good thing. I think it's a bad thing. I think that proper journalism questions governments, whether they're this government or foreign governments, and while there are some lines of good judgment about what should be published, if you look at the diplomatic cables that The Guardian, the New York Times, and other journalistic entities have reviewed and then published these cables, often removing informants' names, often removing things that are unnecessary to the core stories in play, we're learning about the activities of our government, how to hold them accountable. That's important in a democracy.
Unfortunately, guys, because there is so much breaking news today, we are out of time. But Ari and Steve, thanks to both of you.
Yeah,
and keep it here.
Happy holidays. Thank you, Chris.
Happy holidays. Keep it here on MSNBC. Julian Assange is Dylan Ratigan's exclusive guest, 4 o'clock Eastern Time today, right here on MSNBC. And of course, we're in the middle of